The Kansas City real estate market is heating up, and it's not just home prices, it's also inflation, mortgage rates, fears of a recession, and of course, how quickly homes are selling. This video, we're going to break it all down, and if you stick around to the end, we're going to cover the suburbs in Kansas City where homes are selling the fastest and how much over the asking price they're selling for. Part number one is all about home prices here in Kansas City. This article from fastcompany.com and the chart that you're seeing on the screen, this is pulling data from Zillow's Home Value Index. So not just active listings, not just homes that have recently sold, but the Zestimate and basically how it applies to places all around the Kansas City metro. And if we zoom in, you can see that the 1 month price increase from March of 2024 to April of 2024 is 1.36%. Now, that might not seem that high if you look at it in a whole year span, but considering that this happened in just 1 month, it is absolutely just jaw-dropping. Now, do keep in mind this is mostly just a seasonal trend. We've got a lot of people who are buying and selling homes right now, and you'll see some of that data here in just a second. But a 1.36% price increase over 1 month is absolutely crazy. Now, what you're seeing in front of you right now, this is all of the housing market data from the Kansas City metro area. We're going to go through a couple of these items because I do think that they're important, and it's not just the numbers, but I'm going to explain why these matter if you're in the market to buy or sell a home this year. And the first thing that we should take note of is the month supply. You can see that it reads 1.9. This shows how many months it would take for all of the homes that are currently on the market to sell out, given how quickly they're selling right now. And what we're looking for in a balanced market where there's enough inventory on the market, where you as a buyer have a lot more homes to choose from, the target number we're looking for there is 6 months supply. Again, meaning that 6 months worth of houses on the market, it would take that long for all of the current listings to go ahead and sell out. And we are far, far below that. And a lot of that is due to the inventory crisis. And we've covered it on previous market updates. What you can see is that days on market has started to trend upwards according to this data. But what I'm going to show you here at the end of the video is a very stark contrast to this. That's also true when it comes to percent of original asking price received. It is off the charts in some of the most popular suburbs around Kansas City. But one thing that I do want you to look at is this average sales price data. Now, keep in mind that all of this information is from April of 2024. It's showing year over year changes. So they're comparing April of 2024 to April of 2023. And you can see almost a 5% price increase. Again, if we go back to that Zillow data, you've got a 1.3% increase in 1 month out of the year this year, which is absolute craziness. And part of what confirms that is you've got the number of closed sales is almost up by 10%. The number of homes that are currently under contract is almost up by about 3%. And while we do still have an inventory shortage, you have about 3.8% more homes to choose from than you would have just last year alone. So if you look at this data from just a bird's eye view, take a couple steps back, instead of getting bogged down in very specific numbers, there are more real estate transactions going on right now. There seems to be a little bit more demand among people who are buying homes, considering that you've got almost a 9.2% increase in the amount of homes that have been bought and sold over the last year. And it seems like a lot more sellers are willing to bite the bullet and sell right now, even though they might be giving up a higher mortgage rate. Now, speaking of, part number two of the video is all about mortgage rates. But before we get to it, if this is your first time seeing these videos, then welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Massa. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in Kansas and Missouri. I make these videos because the market is crazy right now. It's very volatile. I know a lot of you are actively looking for information about the market. So if that's you and you'd like to see more videos just like this, make sure to subscribe. And of course, all of my contact info is below. So if you'd like to have a conversation about any of this stuff and make sure that you're set up for success, or make all of this information specific to you, give me a phone call, text message, email, and I'd absolutely love to do what I can to support you and help you either buy or sell a home right here in Kansas City. Now, with that said, we're moving on to part number two, which is all about mortgage rates. The current mortgage rates as of today, which is Wednesday, May 22nd, you've got mortgage rates that have declined over the last week or so. They're at about 7.33% if you've got a conventional loan. If you're looking at an FHA loan, you're at a more reasonable 6.85%, which is still, yes, high, but compared to that conventional loan, it is certainly a much better option. Then you've got a 15-year, which is around 6.74%. Now, this is not going to end anytime soon. And one thing that confirms it is this article from yahoo.com. And basically, not the most reputable source ever, but they're citing some experts and they're citing Fannie Mae, who I think is a little bit more credible. And here are the important highlights in this article. It says, we expect mortgage rates to remain elevated through most of 2024, but we anticipate housing demand to remain high due to favorable demographics, particularly the starter home segment, meaning we've got a lot of people shopping for those first introductory homes. They're buying their first home, and that's really a major source of home buying demand right now, which is why if you were to be shopping for a home in the Kansas City and area anywhere between $200,000 and $400,000, it's going to be the most competitive price bracket in the entire market. And then it goes on to say that the Federal Reserve has said it would rather keep rates high until inflation cools to about 2% rather than risk cutting too early, fueling another round of price spikes. And it goes on to say that the cost of home ownership has grown so steep, it now almost takes a six-figure income to afford the typical home in the United States. Now, the final part of the video is the exact Kansas City suburbs where homes are selling the fastest and how much over the asking price these homes are selling for. So what you can see on the screen, this is actual MLS data. This is what all of like the Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, Truly is. This is where all of them are getting their data from. So this is like the root of all of the data. Basically, to run you through the criteria, we've got the time frame between April and May of this year. We can't look into May just yet because a lot of those homes that went under contract aren't just closed. The data is a little bit off. This is only for single family homes. So it's not for villas, townhomes, apartments, condos, anything like that. And it's also excluding new construction homes. In my opinion, completely separate market than pre-existing or resale homes, which is what I know most people are looking at and mostly what we're covering in this video. So what you can see right here, you've got top to bottom how long it's taking a lot of these different suburbs to sell. You've got Smithville, it's taking about 20 days for those homes to sell. Parkville, I'm surprised to see it's taking about 10 days for most of those homes to sell. And of course, if we go to the like fastest selling suburbs in Kansas City, you've got Mission, Olathe, Overland Park, Roland Park, Shawnee. You've also got Liberty, Missouri, Prairie Village, Lenexa, Blue Springs. And that is just absolutely shocking. You can see in several of those different suburbs that are listed in this data, 2 days on market, which means a lot of these homes are going live on a Thursday or Friday, and they are in fact under contract by a Saturday or Sunday. Meaning if you're not into these homes and you're not seeing them in that first weekend, or if you're seeing them but not ready to make an offer, it likely means that it's going to be very, very hard in order to find a home that you can purchase without getting into a bidding war or without having to kind of shoot from the hip and write an offer that is really, really competitive with some of these fast selling suburbs. If we look at closed price to list price ratio, completely different story. You've got some of these areas like Independence where it's taking over a week for the homes to sell and they're still selling for 103.5% of the asking price. You've got that same kind of price discrepancy selling for in Prairie Village, 103.5% of the asking price. And if you look at Shawnee and even Roland Park, which is very impressive to see, at 105% of the asking price. Mission, Kansas, 105%. So what this is telling me is where you see them selling very quickly and you see the home sell for way over the asking price, those are probably areas where you just want to sidestep them completely. Unless it's very, very important and you're willing to pay a high price, it's usually just not going to be worth the battle, because anytime you see competition, it's going to harm you as a consumer. If you have to compete with other consumers who are often willing to pay more or who have been in enough bidding wars to the point where they don't care if they get to inspect the home or if they cover the appraisal gap, those are all terms that are usually not going to be favorable to you as the buyer, if ever favorable to you. So the big takeaway is if you see some of these areas where the homes are selling very quickly or they're selling way over the asking price, maybe some areas where you want to try and sidestep those as much as you can. Are there other areas around those cities or suburbs where that is not something that you're going to have to run into? And we can tell you with a very high degree of certainty what those areas look like. Let me show you just one example. Now, this is a completely separate set of data. This is all run through Broker Bay, which when us as real estate agents, when we set up a showing on your behalf, all of that data is tracked. And this is what the data looks like. So what I've done is I went through and I narrowed this down to Mission. And just so you can see that, I narrowed it down to Roland Park, because those are two areas that stand out to me according to this data where homes are selling in 2 days and they're also selling at like 105%, 105.8% of the asking price. Now, looking at all of the showings, which are scheduled on an average basis per listing, if I'm looking at all the different price brackets, it clearly sticks out as anything between $350 and $375. That is going to be the most competitive price bracket that you could be shopping in those cities at least. So you can see at least 23 showings per each of those listings, we know the average is a little bit skewed. So it's more like when you see a really good listing come on in one of those cities, it's more like you're getting 30, 35, maybe 40 showing, and maybe 5 offers in just a matter of a couple of days. Now, we can perform this same analysis for you in the specific areas you're shopping in, down to the price point, so you know how many active buyers are out there that you might be competing against. And that means that we can find some hidden opportunities like these two right here between 300 and 350, where there are a lot fewer people going out and touring some of these homes. This can oftentimes make the difference between saving $10, $15, $20, $30,000, or the difference between writing an offer once on a house and getting it the first time versus a lot of the home buyers, what they're experiencing right now, which is writing offer after offer after offer, and they're still looking for a home to buy just because of how competitive the market is. This is one of the fastest ways that we can identify holes in the competition and ultimately find some hidden opportunities where you stand to get as much value for your money as possible. And if you'd like us to do this search, this same home buyer analysis on your behalf, we'd be happy to do it. All of my contact information is down below in the description. You can click the link at the top of the description. We'll go ahead and put this into action for you so you know exactly what you're up against. Now, with all that said, if you're buying or selling a home in Kansas City, if you found this helpful, you'd like to make it all specific to you, my contact info is below, so give me a call, text, email. And before you go, click either right here, which will show the video YouTube thinks you'd enjoy the most, or right here to see the previous market update we did, which goes a little bit more in depth as to mortgage rates, home prices, and while they'll both likely remain pretty high and keep going up over the foreseeable future. So click either here or here, and I'll see you on the other side.